Bonjour French 1, this is your section 2.2 video all about telling how well you do things as well as using contractions. We'll talk more about what a contraction is in just a second in case you're unaware, but let's go ahead and start with telling how well you do something. Keep in mind that you are only required to write the things that are actually on the lines with the yellow background. If you choose to do the pronunciation or even some of the samples, that is your choice. It is not required to earn full credit on your homework assignment. It's also not necessary for the things that we do in class as well, of course. So keep in mind that I will pause for you to give you some time to repeat after me with some of these phrases. So if you're going to talk about how well you're doing something, the first thing you have to know is how to actually ask how well something is done so that when somebody asks you this, you understand, or if you want to ask somebody else. The way you do that is you use the word you and then whatever the activity is and then the word well. So in French it's tu, whatever it is, bien. So I gave you some examples up here. You could say tu parles bien, which is do you speak well, as in specifically you could add le français, do you speak French well? Tu parles bien le français. You could ask about somebody else if you wanted to. Now this is changing it from what's on the line here. Instead of saying do you do something well, you could ask about he or she, somebody else. You could say il joue bien au foot, does he play soccer well? You could say elle danse bien, does she dance well? But you can switch up the subject and you can switch up the activity, and if you put the word bien after it and you raise your voice at the end of the sentence, it becomes a question of whether that person does whatever the activity is well or bien. Ways that you can answer if somebody asks you if you do something well. If you do not and you want to say that you do something badly, you'll use the phrase très mal. If you do something just badly, you'll say mal. If you do something okay, they put rather well or pretty well, you would say assez bien. If you do something well, you'll say bien. And if you're really good at something and you do it very well, you'll say très bien. So again, I wanted to show you how this works in a sentence because you'll notice, just like up here with the examples of the questions, some of the phrases get broken up with the word bien. Basically, that means that they're just putting the word bien or whatever the describing the adverb is right after the verb. So whatever it is that you do well or badly or rather well or whatever phrase you decide to use, you need to put it right after the action word. So if you speak well, in this case, oui, je parle bien le français, means yes, I speak French well. Now you'll notice that the order of the words is out of order from the way we say it in English. This technically says, yes, I speak well the French. But again, when you translate something, you're trying to go for overall meaning, and if the word order isn't quite right, that doesn't mean that you need to switch things up. It just means you need to consider the fact that word order varies from language to language. So if somebody asks, tu parles bien le français, you could say, oui, je parle bien le français. Yes, I speak French well. Going back to our second question, il joue bien au foot, does he play soccer well? Il joue assez bien le foot. Notice where the assez bien goes in. It goes right after the playing part. He plays kind of well soccer, and that's their way of saying he plays soccer kind of well or pretty well. For our elle danse bien question, does she dance well? You could say no, elle danse mal, she dances badly. And again, the word badly goes over the after the action word of dancing. So that's kind of how you can describe how well you do things. Now sometimes whenever you start talking about how well you do something, somebody will say, well, do you like this better than or that? And that's where asking and telling about preferences comes in. Now when we learn how to say I like and I love and I don't like, we learned how to say je préfère, which is I prefer, or j'aime mieux, for I like it more. This is just where the official questions come into play. So you've already taken notes on how to say I prefer or I like it more. If you need to look back or jot those down, you're welcome to do that. But these are the actual questions. Two ways of asking if you prefer one thing or another. You would say tu préfères this ou that. The other way you can ask is to ask, do you like more this or that, which in French is tu aimes mieux this ou that. And if you don't want to narrow it down to choices and you just want to say straight up, what are your favorite activities? In French, that is, quelles sont tes activités préférées? Now when you go to answer these questions, of course, you'll want to make sure that you're using complete sentences. So I give some examples down here, such as, tu aimes mieux danser ou chanter? Do you like more dancing or singing? As in, do you like to sing or dance more? And I have a sample answer of je préfère danser. I prefer to dance. But if you would like to get a little bit more in depth with your answers, you can use what we call conjunctions. And we have these in the English language as well. Conjunctions in the English language combine two thoughts into one sentence. They're the words but, and or. So the words in French, the word for but is mais, the word for and is et, and the word for or is ou. And it's just a matter of you using them in the same way that you would use them in English. So I have an example here of using and. If somebody asks, quelles sont tes activités préférées? What are your favorite activities? You could say, j'adore lire et nager. I love to read and swim. And you can use those conjunctions to express what you like to do all in one complete sentence. Now, go ahead and show you how you can use all of these phrases, both for liking and disliking, for preferences, for conjunctions, for telling how well you do something, all in one big long conversation. It's your choice whether you want to jot this down. I just want to kind of show you how this works. This is on the back of your paper. If you'd like to translate it, you can. But kind of how you can combine this all into a conversation that will actually start to sound quite normal as far as compared to what you would be able to say in English. Student 1, S1 is student 1, could say, j'adore jouer au baseball, which would mean I love to play baseball. To which student 2 could ask, well, if you love it so much, tu joues au baseball régulièrement? Do you regularly play baseball? And the person could answer, oui, souvent. Yes, often. Keep in mind that these two phrases are coming from our last set of notes when we talked about adverbs of frequency, otherwise known as asking and telling how often you do something. So we're kind of combining everything into one comprehensive conversation. So student 1 says they play baseball often, while student 2 is starting to get curious. If you play baseball so often, tu joues bien au baseball? Do you play baseball well? To which student 1 could say, oui, je joue assez bien au baseball. Yeah, I'm pretty good at baseball. And student 2 could ask, well, if you like it so much, tu préfères le baseball ou le foot? Well, do you prefer baseball or soccer? And student 1 could say, j'aime bien le foot, mais je préfère le baseball. We really like soccer, but I prefer baseball. Hopefully this conversation gets you an idea of how much more you can say now with this section beyond what you could just say even a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago it was just I like baseball, I don't like baseball. Now you can actually have a pretty in-depth conversation with somebody when you talk about how often you play baseball, how good you are, whether you like baseball more than something else. You guys are really coming along in the French language, and you can really get much more creative with what you're able to say. Make sure you bring this paper back with you to class so you can get full credit for doing these notes.